So you ask, when is an achievement gap between typical and dyslexic readers first evident? To respond to this important question, here we're going to briefly review data I shared with you in a prior lecture. As this figure demonstrates, the achievement gap between typical and dyslexic readers occurs early, really early. Look at where that yellow arrow is, right at first grade. And what's more, this gap persists over time. Can a child who is at risk for dyslexia be identified early and reliably? Yes. Indeed, the failure to identify the at-risk child early is very common and very damaging, and is absolutely avoidable for children with dyslexia. Today, it is possible to reliably identify boys and girls at high risk for dyslexia before they fall behind. Here, the focus is the specific assessment approaches that help to identify potential dyslexia in a young child. The screening instruments designed to identify children most at risk for dyslexia. The goal, of course, is to catch the potential difficulties before they become full-fledged problems and begin to harm the child. If we were to list current practices not working for dyslexic students, delaying identification of dyslexia and the provision of evidence-based interventions would lead would top the list. A major concern related to delay in identification comes from what science has taught us about the development of reading. Reading growth is maximal the first few years of school and then plateaus with time. Bottom line, we don't want to miss the wonderful opportunity to maximize reading growth in the early years of school. To do this, we must first identify the child who is at risk. Interventions in later grades may decrease or prevent the achievement gap between typical readers and dyslexic readers from widening, but will not overcome the already existing difference in early grades. So let's quickly review what we do know and what we can do. Dyslexia is real. Dyslexia is highly prevalent. Dyslexia's impact occurs early. Help is often delayed. Now it is possible to identify at-risk status as early as kindergarten and first grade, and to do so reliably, efficiently, economically, and using evidence-based material. So you ask, exactly what is a screener? Think about it. How would you define a screener? Its function. Okay, I'll tell you. A screener is not a diagnostic instrument. Its role is to quickly and efficiently identify those children at risk for dyslexia. Screeners are designed to be given to all children in the earliest grades, a process referred to as universal screening, in order to target those children who need extra help as early as possible. The screeners must be able to pinpoint the children who actually will develop dyslexia, referred to as true positives, while designating which children definitely will not develop dyslexia, referred to as true negatives. Researchers like myself have recognized that one important source of screening information that has been ignored is the child's teacher's insights and judgment about the child's reading. In the beginning grades, teachers have ample opportunity to observe their students over a substantial period of time as the students engage in relevant learning contexts. Teachers are ideally situated to assess the early language, phonologic, and academic performance indicative of a high risk for dyslexia in their students. Given the often vastly differing preschool experiences of children and where they are on the reading continuum when they first enter school, it is best to wait until the second semester before screening. Here, the teacher's insights and judgment about the child's reading are an important source of information. It is the child's teacher who has spent months closely working with him and observing the daily ups and downs, the frightening frustrations, and the satisfied smiles that are all part of the process of becoming a reader. These experiences are reflected in the teacher's responses on the screening measures. Too often, his or her unique insights and depth of experience are underutilized. This is unfortunate, and I hope we will change that. We found that using the teacher's responses to a small set of questions allowed them and us to predict children at high risk for dyslexia with an exceptionally high degree of accuracy. This screener, the Shaywitz dyslexia screen, Dr. Bennett Shaywitz and myself, are scientists, physicians, and advocates. We're not distributors, so we gave the screener to Pearson Publishers in 2016. So this screener, the Shaywitz dyslexia screen, Pearson 2016, has a number of significant advantages compared to other screening measures. First and foremost, it is evidence-based. It works. It engages the teacher, captures his or her insights about the child, is extremely efficient, taking 5 to 10 minutes per student, is very inexpensive, is completed by the teacher who knows the child, and has extremely good psychometric characteristics. The Shaywitz dyslexia screen is completed on a tablet, which reveals the results at risk for dyslexia or not at risk for dyslexia, almost immediately. Most important, the screener is evidence-based. It has been demonstrated to work. Furthermore, it does not take children away from precious instructional time. Indeed, the Shaywitz dyslexia screen is enthusiastically being used nationally across the country. Furthermore, the Shaywitz dyslexia screen aligns with federal law, Public Law 115-391, which also defines dyslexia. So it says that a dyslexia screening program, the term dyslexia screening program, means a screening program for dyslexia that is evidence-based with proven validity, efficient and low cost, and readily available. To reiterate, teachers are critical in identifying who may be dyslexic. Using the Shaywitz dyslexia screen, we found that kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and third grade teachers' ratings were able to identify with a high degree of accuracy which children would later be diagnosed as having dyslexia. What are your thoughts about screening for dyslexia in early school grades, kindergarten, first, second, and third?
I think it's a game changer. And so it's just foundational, it seems to me, that we've got to begin at the beginning and we've got to provide those pathways and then begin to customize a curriculum and individualize that cadence of learning to meet people where they are. It's hard. A lot of kids out there don't get screened, don't get help, don't have parents that have the time, energy, don't even have parents that will spend time working through these strengths and weaknesses. And so we have a lot of work to do out there. So I'm committed to the cause. There's a large number of people with language-based learning differences, as you know better than anybody. And everybody's got, we all are on a different spectrum in terms of of what it is. But in that process of discovery, you know, we can discover extraordinary talents, and they reside out there. And I don't want to give up on any of these kids. And I think what an incredible gift it is if we can mine that talent and let folks know they're not less intelligent. They're not. They're not less capable. They're not. They just have a different brain, and that's a glorious thing.